Even if you've worked with 3D inside Photoshop, get ready to get your socks blown off. Because when you work with 3D in the video production side of Photoshop, it can be amazing. So I just want to give you a brief introduction to some of the things you can do with 3D inside the video production side of Photoshop. We're inside the motion workspace here. We're going to switch to 3D in a moment, but we'll just start in motion. I want you to bring in a specific video clip. So click on the plus sign. I want you to go to the Working Files folder, Digital Juice Stock Footage subfolder, and bring in the Time-Lapse 4 clip. I'm going to trim this down a bit to get rid of that fog at the beginning, just to kind of make things look a little bit more realistic. It doesn't have to be exact, but I'm going to go in about that far and trim to there. There we go. And now I'm going to add some text on top of this layer. To do that, I just need to add a new video group, like so. That creates this layer up here, this track, with my current time indicator at the beginning. And go get the type tool, click on it. And now I'm just going to go over here and start typing some text. Now, when you work with 3D text in Photoshop, you typically want to have a relatively thin font because thick fonts tend to kind of crash into each other when you're working in 3D. It's your choice, but nevertheless, I've got Times New Roman here. I'm going to start typing here. Just click there, type in something like text. Reflection. It's a little large now, right? But we're going to take care of that in a second. I'll just move it over and center it up a little bit like so. Bring it down to the water. Okay, there we go. We have our text. So now I want to convert this into 3D text, and there are a couple of ways to do that. I could switch to the 3D workspace, or I could just go to 3D here, click on New 3D Extrusion from Selected Layer. And that asks me, do you want to go to the 3D workspace? And yeah, I do. So I'll click Yes. And now it creates that extruded text. And if you haven't seen this before, right away you're going, wow, that's pretty cool. What I want to do now is kind of adjust the position of the text. So I'm going to adjust the camera, as it's called, using this tool here. There's several tools here that allow you to adjust the position of the camera. So I'm going to pull it down a little bit like that, so it kind of matches the shape of the water down there more or less. I can click on this over there to pull it down a little bit, to bring it down to the surface of the water more or less, something like that. Click on here to adjust a little bit more. That looks more like it's realistic, I think, like that. There we go. And then this guy here allows me to pull it back a little bit. Thing I was telling you about before, how you can adjust things after the fact to get things to fit on the screen. So that, I think, works reasonably well. I think we got this thing positioned properly. So now that we've done this, let's just take a look at the video for a second and see how it fits with the text. You'll notice that the sun moves across the sky, so wouldn't it be great if we could illuminate the text from behind and also have it throw a shadow toward us? Well, you can do that. And what you can also do inside the video side of Photoshop is you can animate that, and that is the real power that you get when you work inside the video side of Photoshop. It's really amazing. So the first order of business is to change the light, and the light's right up there. You can click on it and it turns on the light there, so I can just control it. I want to have the light come from behind, so I can just turn it like that. Notice how we're beginning to change the characteristic of the light. There we go. And also it's going to start throwing shadows here in a second, like so. Is that great? Okay, that's the first order of business. What you can do is you can move this so that as the sun moves, we're going to have the shadows move too. I think you're already going, really? Wow. There's step one there. I want to put a little bit of light here in the front so it's not just black like that. So I'm going to add another light. So when the 3D panel is selected here, I can go down to the bottom, click this little flyout menu there and say New Infinite Light. And again, I'm not trying to teach 3D here, but I do want to show you a few little tips here. So we have that light selected. When the light is active like this, I can change the intensity right here. Right now it's 100%. That's just too bright. Let's just bring it down to have it just kind of lightly illuminate the text from in front here, getting most of the illumination from behind there like that. I think that works okay like that. All right. If I switch to environment, it opens up some options here inside the properties panel, one of which is the ground plane. And down here a little ways in the ground plane is reflections. And right now the opacity is 0, so you don't have a reflection at all. I can open this little guy up here and add a little bit of reflection. Watch this as we come in here now. Reflection on the water, right? Wow. Is that not great? And you can make it a little bit rough too while you're at it, just to make it so it's not perfect, because the water, after all, is not smooth. So we'll make it a little bit rough like that. Now, you'll not necessarily see that it's rough because you need to render it to be able to see your progress. So this little button down here is the render button. I click on that and it's going to go back and forth like this for a couple seconds. Watch what it gets right down there, how it turns it into a real reflection. Looks nice, right? This rendering can take a long time. This is just one frame. Just keep in mind when you do this, you're going to have to wait quite a while things render when you're making video, but we'll just accept that as it is right now by turning it off. And now we have a nice little reflection there and nice drop shadows here coming toward us. And we could call it a day, right? But this is video, folks, and you can animate these things. Now I'm going to talk about keyframe animation in some upcoming lessons. So I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but because I'm working on 3D only in this lesson, I do want to show you what you can do, at least give you a sense of what you can do. I don't want to just toss this at you and then walk away from it. So let me just pull this up a little bit so we have a little more room to work with here, because we're going to need some room here. I want to open up the video group 2 here to show you that there are keyframes here. These little stopwatches let you toggle on animation, keyframes that let you control how things behave. I'm going to put the current time indicator back to the beginning here like that. There we go. And we're going to get this stuff again because we rendered a single frame back there. This is back to a different frame now, so it's not rendered right now. So don't worry about that. I want to render a couple things here, the 3D light and the 3D mesh. We have the 3D light thing here. We've got two lights. We've got 1 and 2. 1 is the one that's coming from behind it. That's the first one. So we want to keyframe the first light. Turn on this little animation stopwatch. Nothing will happen because we take the current position, but keyframes indicate the beginning and the end of a change. So this is the beginning of a change. I'm going to go to the end of the timeline. I can just press the end key to do that. I want to go to just 10 seconds because that's where the end of the text is. That's one of the default lengths of the text, is that it's 10 seconds long. Now I want to move the light. I'm going to click on Infinite Light 1, which is this one now. I want it to move with the sun. So I'm going to move it like this, like so that the shadow moves like so. So it follows the sun, essentially. So it'll go like that from the beginning to the end. Let's just watch this. We'll go back to the beginning here. I'll scrub through it. Now, it won't be perfect because it's not rendered. It's just this sort of pre-rendered state. But you can see that the shadow moves with the sun. If I just click on the current view like this, or just the text itself, watch that as well. So the shadow moves along with it. Pretty amazing. All right. Now I want to have the text itself move. So I'm going to go back to the beginning, like so. And to close up this 3D lights and open up 3D meshes. And there's our text there. I click on its stopwatch like so. I want to have the beginning where it's rotated off to one side. So I click on it to turn on this little controller here. I want to rotate it around the y-axis like so. So I think we'll start like this. That'll be the beginning. And then I'll go to the end of this 10-second clip here. I'm going to go back here and rotate it. So back to you, and we'll bring it like so. So it'll follow the motion of the sun, sort of. All right, so now that we've done that, let's just take a look at our animation. Just take our playhead, go back to the beginning. We can now, let's say, go over to the scene view here, or the current view like that. And now we'll go forward like this, and we'll watch the animation take place. And that is just so great. And just keep in mind, this is just a couple of things that you can animate when you work with text, like this 3D text inside the video workspace. If I were to render this, you wouldn't see that little harsh reflection there. It would be much more realistic. Let me go along there and just show you how that would work. This is just one frame. So when you're done with this and you finally do export it, when you render it as a video file, it will take a fair amount of time to do the work to render all of those frames. 10 seconds is 300 frames. It's a lot of rendering that has to go on in the background. So do keep in mind that if you do work with 3D, it'll take a while to render these little videos later. But I think the results are worth the effort and time.